we go. We don't want to be uh, improper here. This is well. Now I got to turn it off over here. I'm going to just confuse myself.
You're too late.
Okay, now now. How's that? Am I not confusing things now?
Sounds really good, my friend.
Okay, good. But I had my speaker on. You know how callers call in and they leave the radio on in the background?
Absolutely.
That was me. So now I think I'm all okay. All the screens are up and running. I think I have control. Very good show, JR. I think you, and as long as you're on the phone, can I say something beautiful about you? I think you've taken on a great task and, frankly, a very necessary task. I think that these days, the more freedom minded people that you can get to speak out and get to discuss things of importance to people. I think it's wonderful, and I think you're very good. And that show of Ike's last night was fantastic. I did a Russian version of my program earlier today. I'm starting to get that regular. I'm starting to get into a groove and trying to figure this out. And I started with that topic and went through about what we do. And as you know, most of my uh, listeners are Russian speaking. They're either from Russia, living in the United States, or Ukraine. You know, most of them speak Russian too, or they are people who are in Russia, and so they're very interested in it. It's interesting, the commentary. I got a lot of comments while I was doing it, and people were, "Wow, you have some of the same issues that we have. You have, government is government everywhere," and very interesting topics. And I think that we're kind of making a little bit of a mistake thinking that Russia's the big bad wolf, or that Russian people are the big bad wolf. Even if you think that Putin is the dictator or murderer or whatever anybody wants to say about him over here, which I don't believe to be true. At the risk of having Hillary Clinton come back and say that anyone who says anything positive about Vladimir Putin is nothing but a useful idiot, I don't know what to say. It's anyway. It was very very interesting topic and a lot of discussion on it on the feedback on my YouTube channel. So I appreciate you. I appreciate your shows. I think I did a fantastic job, and I only got to listen to part of it, so well, half of it. So I know I've been harassing you, trying to figure out how to get the recording for the rest.
I could put it into I could put it into Dropbox if you.
No, I don't need it. I'm just interested, and if I am interested in your website having access to recorded shows. I think that would be a good thing for you, for me, for everybody. And the other thing on your website is I'm interested in me being the host.
Well, there's kind of like two definitions of host when talking about websites.
Yes, sir. I know, and I'm sorry for that confusion. I created that. I meant host of a radio program listed on your host's page, and you thought I meant I wanted to take over your website. No, I don't want to do that. I don't even want to take over my own website, and I have one at samueltrap.com. You're all welcome to go look at it and check that out, and I hope that you do. And so I'm learning about streaming on YouTube and instant subtitles, and how instant subtitles happen. I'm not sure I have it, but I'm sure somebody might say something in the commentary, because sometimes you can't simultaneously do the subtitle in another language. You can do it, like, since I'm speaking English, the instant subtitles might show up in English, but they don't necessarily show up in Russian. And I found out you can have two different languages on there and how you put it. So sometimes, and maybe people have been doing it forever, know how to do it, but I only started these live conversations a couple of weeks. Well, crap, when you let me start my program with you, and I'm learning challenged. I've been trying to figure all this out in the meantime, and but I think it's At least I started on time today for the most part. So I think things are going well, but I appreciate you very much, and I think you're doing a wonderful thing. So, if you wanna stay and chat, you're certainly welcome to do so, and, I was interested in your thoughts, if you got time. Do you have time for question?
I have called your turn, but I'll put them off for absolutely. Of course.
I'm asking, just a couple of them. So, and we talked a tiny bit about it the other day. Um, and I called in on your show and said something about it because you were discussing limitations on social media. So about a week ago, the U.S. government came out with a great big announcement from the Department of Justice, and they're all proud of themselves, right? Uh, they attacked two Russian. Well, they actually did quite a few more, but they started with indictments against two Russians from social media platforms, radio, TV. It's called RT, Russia Today, and it's a very large organization, and so the Department of Justice came out and is attacking these people for influence. And I don't know if you know about the issue or not, for trying to influence American elections, and basically they've been charged with a crime in federal court. And I read the federal complaints, and you can find them online. It's ridiculous. And well, it's not ridiculous. They've alleged that they're crimes, but when you go through and you read it, really, it could be anybody who disagrees with anything that you say. And they say, so first of all, they've attempted to affect an election by passing out disinformation from Russia, from an, a different source, from a governmental, because RT is supported by Russian media. And count number two, money laundering. That's how they get to take their money from them, right? And so they claim that when they paid other people to discuss topics that they presented, there's about 6 US bloggers that I won't name them, but you can look them up. That they named some of these uh, as trying to help them, and basically they're threatening them to get their assistance in going after these others. But it's not uncommon. And basically, I've been watching on TV some of these people, the Russian TV, watching some of these people respond to the US government on freedom of speech, and the speech they are talking about in Russia. It's pretty funny when Russia is commenting on freedom of speech and the lack thereof in America and talking about how free they are. Now, I don't necessarily agree with it all. They have their own propaganda too. But I know that your focus is mainly on social media. But how do you feel about trying to limit another TV channel, another source of information, just because you disagree with what they're putting out? You don't want to hear anything positive about that side of the world.
Obviously, censorship and against censorship. Remember what Europe said half years realize not founders our founders gave us the First Amendment. Say anyone doesn't have to say lie. Protect it.
Well,
Whole point.
that's
Say the truth, say lie, and then the public's going to decide which is right. That's the whole point.
well,
Don't censor anybody. Because if you're going to censor somebody, you decide which side is right. That's nobody's role. It's not the citizen's role to decide which is right. It's nobody's role to limit someone's right. Period.
well, I definitely agree with that. The fact is there's a lady named, and I watch her as often as I can every Sunday night, and I've told you about this program before. There's a guy named Vladimir Solovyov, and he has a program that the format is just incredible. I love the format. So this format is he has 6, 7 political people, and literally every night for 2.5 to 3 hours, they get on and they discuss events. And and he'll start with a topic and he'll say it. I only watch one time a week, generally on Sundays, because on Sundays, the lady who I believe she's the managing editor of RT, that station, her name is Margarita Simonyan. They've been after her for years. US educated, US stuff, and they've been after her for a little bit. And it's watching her and her statements about freedom of speech. Actually, on Sunday night, she said almost exactly what you just said right there. She said, the US has been trying to educate us on what freedom of speech is for a very long time. And now they're coming back and trying to destroy speech. She said, and what does it matter what anyone else says? Shouldn't the, like you just said, shouldn't the listener be the one that determines what they will and will not listen to? It's pretty funny. And well, it's really not funny. In fact, it's kind of sad that anytime you disagree with something in America these days, you just call it the famous words Russian disinformation and you move on. Nobody's ever determined what Russian disinformation is. You know, it's Russian disinformation is just whatever anybody says it is at the time they need to say it, right? So you got a laptop taken in and that has that has information you don't like. Well, that must be Russian disinformation, right?
Well, this has all the earmarks of a Russian disinformation.
Yeah, you say it better than I do. See, you're such a well-spoken radio host, and I'm still a very much a novice and just getting used to it. And it's it's
The thing is, what's so wrong with trying to influence the outcome of the election? Is that not exactly what you and I are doing?
well, exactly.
Every word of our mouth is practically trying to influence others.
Exactly, and that's what she said. You're like puppeting exactly what she said, and I don't have to lead you. I don't have to say anything. You're saying it. Why? Because it makes sense. She says, "Of course, we're pushing positive things about Russia. We have a beautiful culture. We have beautiful people. We have a wonderful history. Of course, we're saying positive things, and we want people to consider our point of view, but they don't want to hear that." Instead, they want to come after and target you just like they've done Trump. You know, that's my addition. You know, just if they don't like you, they come after you. If they don't like you, they block your channel. If they don't like you, they limit what you can and can't say. They censor you, like you were saying. And what better tool of censorship than to charge somebody with a felony and with money laundering because you're paying somebody to discuss your content. And by the way, I read what they were talking about the content. They're not saying telling these people, these bloggers, what they have to say. They're outlining topics for them to discuss. And these people are supposed to go and find their, find whatever they think to be the truth and put it out. Of course, they were getting paid 100,000 a piece, you know. And sometimes I get that on my little YouTube. I have a limited number of listeners, but I do every occasionally get, well, you're obviously a spy. It's like, well, I ain't getting paid for it. So if somebody wants to pay me, somebody wants to pay me to be a spy, that's different. These are my opinions, period. And you can either agree with them or disagree with them. But what I say is what I think, and it's not what somebody is paying me to say. And you're the same way. I mean, and I've known you long enough to know that. And most Americans are that way. They say what they mean. It's only when you become a career politician that you have to start, tap dancing around and remember what lies you told to who, so you get reelected. And I can't do that.
Whenever my opponent wants to stop what I'm saying, that means I won. If they're trying to make me quiet, that means I have won. I won. Why else would they want to shut me out? Because they can't beat me at the argument. They're not talented enough. They're arrogant. That's the side of it. Or support control. They're on the wrong side of it. And their only means to try to win is to shut them aside. That's efficient. That's my estimation.
Yeah, well, I absolutely agree with you in that respect. That there's, I always say that something similar to what you say, and as soon as you revert to name calling, you've lost as well. So
Well, now hold on a second. Hold on. I don't know about that. That's just like hot sauce. I think there's a time for me when I enjoy a good game. especially if it's like whatever Kamala talks. You know what I'm saying? Like Kamala's saying something, you
Yeah, but that's just a random comment. You could call people names but I'm talking about when you're arguing. If if I'm arguing with you or some ex-wife or something, and you're suddenly reverting to, oh, you sorry piece of, or you subject, well, yeah, that's helpful. That does not resolve conflicts. You can't do it. There's reasonable argument, and then there's name calling, and name
I
calling.
think that probably gets into the argument of innocence because she's dumb, right? It's true, right?
She's not very
Is it
bright.
called?
I wouldn't
Is
put
it
her
an
bright.
accurate adjective, or are you calling it name calling? Where's the line?
Well, well, I'm not against calling people names like you've just done, saying, "Oh, this person isn't intelligent enough to formulate a response," and so there's really no sense in continuing with this alleged argument because I've already won. But if they come back with, name calling just reverts, it just goes into the realm of other name calling. You call me one name, I call you another, and then suddenly you're not discussing anything. You're just name calling. So
But just name calling, and I agree with you that that's all it is. But I think it's served up best when it's both. In the argument with truth, and to me, that's about put cream on the back to say dumbass.
I like all your little key pushes when you got dumbass, when you got all those things. One day you'll have to show me how to click them when I'm remote because I don't know how to do that. But
Are you looking it out? Are you
yeah,
looking it out?
yeah, I'm on the
All right,
screen.
we have
Okay,
we have
I,
me
I'm
on
not
over here
touching
on the
it.
right. Yeah, you see this person screen there?
No, because I
So
have to. I can only be on one of them at a time. It won't let me
well,
split
you
them.
only need to be on the big one here. There's really nothing that's good about it to the end of the show.
Well, I don't know which one's right and which one's left on my side. Mine could be something similar, but I don't have anything where I can just push for sounds. I have on the bottom, it says track manager, playlist builder,
Yeah,
audio.
no, that's all that is the rock. That's really all that is.
So I only need this at the end when I got to click off and play and then play again,
Yep.
right?
That's the only time. Well, you got to come in at the end of the show. Your show's going to
Well, exactly. So let me see. I'll take the mouse and see if I can switch over. How about that?
as
And
long as I got it lined up for you.
okay, let's see what
But
we
we
got
can
here.
learn these things early in the history of the show. So
So on the one that says streamer, that's the one I want to be on.
it says,
Okay.
no, you want to be on the one that says studio. Sorry, folks.
Well, that's where I was a second ago. Oh no, I'm on studio now. I'm on studio. Sorry for wasting people's time with this while I
Oh yeah, you need to
educate
know these
myself.
things.
And so now I see Stream Deck, XL, those little things. I can just click on them and hit your Trump train. Does it
That's not
just?
the train.
Does it just?
That is not the train.
Oh, oh, here's the Trump train. Yes. So if I click on it, will it play right now?
Try it.
I got nothing.
You don't.
Do you hear it?
I know.
Yeah, I don't either. I got nothing.
Try. You go up. Try. Go push on button. On button.
Where's Butthead? There he is. I did.
Doesn't work on your end. I didn't. So
Huh.
now, the answer to your question, I can't.
Oh, so I can't steal all your little freebies and your little. Yeah, well, that's depressing. So,
Somewhere on the other side of town, Mr. Engineer is like challenge accepted.
well, cool. Maybe he can show me how to do it because I like those little things. That'd be a lot of fun to
Oh yeah.
to put them in there and play them out. It's well. Anyway, I so much appreciate you once again. You clarified me and got me a little more detailed about the response that I needed to have to your name calling. That was very nice. I like it when you correct me and
We're
you
always looking for an
participate.
opportunity to argue.
Well, I thought that was
Nobody
me.
wants to listen to two people agree.
Well, that's a good point. I don't know what we have to argue about right now, though. I
Well,
think
I got phone calls to turn. So how's that?
Well, you just disappear, and I appreciate your time and your effort. All right, bye-bye. I want to continue to discuss the things, and again, thanks for JR, and thanks for all that he does and his beautiful uh, programming that he has put out at damradio.com. I am currently live streaming it in English as well. And if you have a chance to YouTube it, I am at Samuel Trapp. And you can go out there and listen. You can comment in Russian or in English uh, and discuss if you have points you want me to make or discussions you want to put. You can put them out there that way. I don't use the studio email for that at present. I use my YouTube channel for that, and I try to address any of the any of the information that comes through on that end. It's very much interesting to me. I wanted to talk something about that freedom of speech thing again today because it's definitely important. And the fact that it's such a big issue for uh, the government or for people who are trying to stay in power means it's all the more important to try and uh, address those issues. When they come up, and that people have an understanding. Sorry, I'm doing two things at once right now, and I'm trying to log in to get get to my saved information so I can discuss what I intended today. And I kind of got off of that whilst we were chatting with JR. And so I'm going to keep looking into that and get to my topics for today. And one of them was indeed the freedom of speech angle and what is being said. Uh, there are some famous people who discuss why it's important to be able to speak your mind and why it's important to be able to say the things that you want to say, and why in the world would anybody fear words? Okay, yeah, I don't remember when we were kids. What was it that people would scream when you're kids and you're playing around outside and somebody called you a name? What was the first response? Probably different depending on where you grew up and what you did, but I remember it, and I'm sure millions of other people too. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And that's the truth. It's what JR was just talking about, where you put your emphasis on calling people names. None of that matters. Where you put your emphasis on facts, that does matter. And where you put your information out there for people to debate, that is important, and people want to do that. And internationally, there it's one of the comments I got the other day. I found it to be very interesting, and I got it from the Russian side of the world. And one of the people who commented as follows and said, "How in the world can you, as a country, can America, as a country, claim that uh, freedom of speech, which is one of the things that people come to America for, specifically seeking freedom of speech, they come to America for that. And then they discover that maybe it's the same as it is in their country, wherever they left, wherever you didn't have freedom of speech, which arguably is absolutely correct. There's uh, it's it's odd to me, if not downright funny, that we are trying to limit something that people that can say. Whether it's you're calling people putting something on YouTube as or whatever social platform, Twitter, that there's been a lot of discussion in the past few weeks about people uh, limiting or policing, like Facebook, like X, like any of these platforms, policing what their members are saying, or they are going to be charged charged with a crime, told that they're put there. I've heard commentary that you have no right to speak something that's not the truth. Really? If I wanna say that I'm a woman, I'm not allowed to? Why not? If I wanna say that I'm a monkey, if I believe I'm a monkey, or if I what is the word? If I identify as a monkey, am I not allowed to do that? Is that not what freedom of speech is all about? You want to say whatever you want. It's not gonna change the fact that I'm not a monkey, and it's not gonna change the fact that I'm not a woman, and it never will. And we can say these things because in America, we have freedom of speech, but now they're gonna try to limit what we're doing like they do in other countries. And that brings me to the limitation of speech. Let's try on this, and I've looked at it in a lot of different ways. So in Ukraine, they do not allow freedom of speech. Okay, you cannot speak your mind in Ukraine and get away with it. You cannot. For example, I believe they were trying to outlaw um, Telegram over there. And Telegram, if you don't use it, and I use it, I get a decent amount of information from Telegram because uh, Telegram is used quite a bit in Europe, the Eastern countries, and certainly in Russia and Ukraine. And there's some very good sources in there, especially if you speak the language or can quiz the language in Cyrillic, and you can get on and search what people are doing because what's happening, and it's gotten somewhat less since things are no longer in Ukraine's favor. Well, they never have been, but I mean, now it's obvious that things are not in their favor, and they're not allowing people to post like they used to. They're trying to outlaw Telegram completely, and so, uh, used to be well, it still is in a lot of places that they go out and they film an area of battle, for example, and this battle is going on while they're recording, or they're taking the aftermath of a battle that they've participated in, and they're posting it on uh, Telegram. And so people are seeing something of what's going on right now. I assume that it's possible to tell lies on there and to not post it, but since the consensus, well, since the general news of the last few months, all through the summer and certainly through the summer and probably a little earlier than that, have been putting have been pretty negative as far as Ukraine, and there's clearly no Ukrainian victory. They've been trying to limit the ability to use Telegram. They are limiting in Ukraine the ability for churches to exist. They're limiting things that you can say. So it does exist, and it is important. And if democracy includes freedom of speech, how in the world can we say that we're protecting democracy if democracy doesn't exist in Ukraine? And so these are interesting developments, especially when the U.S. government is filing lawsuits, and that is one of the things I wanted to say, or wanted to read you the uh, complaint again, and I had it here saved where it was supposed to just pop right up, but so far it hasn't. Um, uh, and I want to locate that document because it'd be very interesting to read that complaint. And here it is on the Department of Justice. You can download it and read it, and it came out on uh, September the 4th. Okay. And if you haven't read it, you could. The attachment is here's the indictment. It's in the New York Southern Division Court. And yep, there it is. Now I found the one I downloaded already. And I wanted to read it to you and what it says. And basically, it's a long complaint. Whether if you know how criminal court works on the federal level, uh, it's very interesting. When I was practicing law in Missouri, I did some federal defense work, some federal criminal work, and a decent amount of criminal work uh, in the on the state side. But reading this complaint, so it's an indictment, and it's a sealed indictment. It's no longer sealed, of course, because they were trying to put this together. And the introduction is, if you don't know the story, and I don't mean to read it all to you, but what the story says, first of all, the United States of America, it's filing criminal charges against uh, Konstantin Kalashnikov, Yelena Afanis, Afanasieva. Sorry about that. That one's a little bit of a longer name. They're calling them Kostya and Lena. They're calling these people now, these are different ones. These are new ones, actually, because the ones were really other people. And so basically, they start with RT, formerly known as Russia Today, is a state-controlled media outlet funded and directed by the government of Russia. After Russia invaded Ukraine in February 22, RT was sanctioned, dropped by distributors, and ultimately forced to cease operations in the United States, Canada, UK, and EU. In response, okay, this is criminal, mind you. All of this is criminal, what we're putting in here. In response, RT created, in the words of its editor in chief, an entire empire of covert projects designed to shape public opinion for Western audience. One of these covert projects, as described here, is funding and directing a Tennessee-based online content creation company, a U.S. company. They haven't named what it is yet. They don't want to mess it up for anyone. And then over the at least the past year, RT and its employees, and there's a lot of them, some of them are in the U.S. and some are not, our teenage employees, in this case, Kostya and Lena, defendants, deployed nearly $10 million laundered through a network of foreign shell entities to covertly fund and direct U.S. Company One. U.S. Company One publishes English language videos on multiple social media channels, including TikTok, Instagram, X, and YouTube, using multiple fake personas. These parties posted and directed the posting of these U.S. companies to put in hundreds of videos. Many of the videos published by the U.S. company contain commentary on events and issues in the United States, such as immigration, inflation, and other topic related to foreign and domestic policy. While the views expressed in the video are not uniform, the subject matter and content of the videos are consistent with the government of Russia's interest in amplifying U.S. domestic divisions in order to weaken U.S. opposition to core government of Russia interests, such as the ongoing war in Ukraine. So this is what JR and I were just talking about. This is what, so basically, the opinion of these people is we shouldn't be at war in Ukraine. We shouldn't be involved in Ukraine. Russia is not necessarily, or isn't, depending on how you put it, wrong in Ukraine. And these things, this is the basis of their suit so far. Now, I think it's important to let you know exactly what the base of this suit is because it's kind of interesting to find out what this is how lawyers are putting together a charge against people, and it's kind of a long complaint. It's a good number of pages, and it might be a little difficult to get it through in the next 45 minutes to an hour that my show goes on. But Jr., I heard him say earlier that it might go longer. If I got to go longer, I'll go a little longer to get it done. But I think it's important to see what our government is doing to stop speech from occurring that they don't agree with. Okay, so now, now, and just well, I'm gonna keep reading it, and you see what you think of it. And this is the actual complaint. I'm reading it. The words of the attorney who wrote it. I'll give you his name at the end. because he signed it. And so here's paragraph 3. Since public, and this is still the preamble, this is telling why we need to charge people with crimes, right? Since publicly launching in or about November 2023, so a new company in November 2023, Company One, they haven't named, posted nearly 2,000 videos that have garnered more than 16 million views on YouTube alone. U.S. Company One never disclosed it to its viewers that it was funded and directed by RT. Now, RT did register, as far as I'm aware, did register as I forget what the name of that four-letter organization is. You have to say that that you work on behalf of a foreign entity, foreign agent registration act or something like that. FARA, I think it's called. That you have to register. Now, RT is registered as FARA, so maybe these people weren't registered by FARA, and the new company One wasn't registered by FARA, but RT is definitely registered by FARA. Okay, so you have to register as a foreign agent if you're uh, pumping out words, or they don't want to call you a spy, or maybe they do if you don't put it out. So the U.S. Company One never disclosed to its viewers that it was funded and directed by RT, nor did Company One or its two founders and principal executives, they call them Founder One and Founder Two, register with the Attorney General as an agent or a foreign principal as required by law. And then no question, Lena, Founder One and Founder One and Founder Two also worked together to deceive two U.S. online commentators, Commentator One and Commentator Two, who respectively have over 2.4 million and 1.3 million YouTube subscribers. Founder One and Founder Two contracted with Commentator One and Commentator Two to produce videos using Commentators One and Two's own names and leveraging their existing audience for license and publication by U.S. Company One. So, in short, basically what they're saying is they're uh, pumping. Well, I can answer some of these for you. We had a couple of commentary. How can you have freedom of speech in Ukraine? This is in Russian. I'm translating at the same time, so if I make a mistake, I'll let you know. How can you have freedom of speech in Ukraine if they refuse? Uh, Many of the multimedia platforms, media agencies, basically, they refuse specific churches, refuse or limit language, uh, and that is true. So they limit certain churches. They don't let certain uh, companies, media companies, broadcast, and they do not allow certain languages. So Ukraine, and this has been going on for a while, since 2014, you can only speak Ukrainian in Ukraine. There's no such thing as a dual language. It's Ukrainian only. They've tried to force people to do that. So how do you call that freedom of speech? Thank you, commentator. In my commentary, I did want to address that, but I was in the middle of my hope today is to get through this criminal charge against RT uh, people who work. So I definitely appreciate your commentary, and I do try to make sure that I'll get to it. And I hope this is interesting to people. It's very interesting to me, having practiced law previously and seeing what lengths they will go to take care of people outside of the country, by the way, and some of them in the country, and who knows how many they have in custody right now. It's a little bit of lunacy, and I will continue. Uh, so, in truth and in fact, uh, wait a minute, we got to get to here's a name. Grigoran was a fictional, I'm sorry, falsely portraying to Commentator One, Commentator Two, was sponsored by a private investor named Edward Grigorian. In truth and in fact, Grigorian is a fictional person. For example, during contract negotiations, Commentator One requested Founder One to provide a profile of this person. In response, they sent a one-page profile with a fictional person saying that this is who the person is. Okay. Now, this part I don't like. I don't understand why you would do that, and you don't have to. You want to, but there are people who have fake personas all over the internet. They exist everywhere. Some people don't put their own name out there. Why would they? They don't want to put their own persona out there, so they create one. Actors have stage names, and people don't want to put their own information. So I think they shouldn't have lied if they did to these people, and maybe the people knew and they just didn't put it in paper. I don't like that sun shining on me. That's hope it isn't affecting too badly the show here. Or there we go. I'll just hide behind the microphone a little bit. Uh, anyway, this Edward, in response, founder one, commentator one, provided another fictional person purporting to represent Edward Gregorian because they wanted to meet the person, and claimed he was somebody he wasn't. He had held various positions in Brussels and France, and so they gave him basically a fake persona. Okay, and that is the beginning of the first paragraph, which tells why we need to come after and why we are seeking criminal charges against these people. Okay, so then they get into the background on how Russian influence operations were conducted by this Russian television station. So RT is a Russian state-funded and state-directed media outlet. They repeat that. As RT's editor-in-chief recently acknowledged, since RT receives a budget from the state, it must complete tasks given to it by the state. For nearly 2 decades, RT has promoted objects to the government of Russia. So basically, there are like our National Public Radio. And National Public Radio, you want to say that's not political? That's extremely political. Try Radio Free Europe or Radio Free America or Radio Free anything that America sponsors and put together. It's cut. They're basically outlining exactly what those entities do in foreign countries. They're trying to broadcast in another language the beauty of America, and they've been the only ones doing it for 30 to 50 years. Only now stations like RT, they've learned how to do it. And where did they learn how to do it? All of the people that work at RT uh, were educated in the United States. So they're educated in the United States. They get their media degree in the United States. They go back and do exactly what television media and media in the US is doing in reverse. The only thing is they have a different point of view that comes from a different country. And so they don't, so they don't like it. So is that wrong? I don't know. But it's not my call to make it wrong. But here with criminal activity, but is it criminal? That's the question. Is it criminal to support your own country? Maybe it's criminal not to register as a foreign agent under the Foreign Agency Registration Act. Maybe that's a crime. Maybe it's maybe it's a crime to say that you're somebody you're not. I don't think it is, but because people do it all the time. But is it a crime? Whether you call this influence of an election or not, it's very interesting what they're trying to put in here as far as the preamble. We'll get to the crime before the end of this, but I think it's interesting to see what they put. So RT's propaganda, now we're calling it propaganda, is most obvious when it reports on matters of importance to the government of Russia, such as public opinion about Ukraine in the United States. Well, of course, they're going to publish things that are it's RT. They're funded by the Russian government. Of course, they're going to publish well, whether you call it propaganda or news depends on who you are and who's listening, right? So here, it's one person's propaganda is another person's God's truth, right? Or another person's unpopular opinion. So what? When direct propaganda is not effective, however, RT has pursued malign influence campaigns. Now, what in the world is that? We don't know. In countries opposed to its policies, including the United States, in an effort to sow domestic division and weaken opposition to the government of Russia's objectives. For example, here's an example. In discussing RT's coverage of the UK's exit from European Union 26, so-called Brexit, remember when that happened? I do. I pay attention, but some people don't. But when they left the European Union, an RT journalist recalled to an academic researcher, I asked my editor, what is RT's line for this Brexit? And he said, anything that causes chaos is RT's line. Okay, you going to tell me that the U.S. isn't doing the same thing in reverse in many places? We're doing it too. That's but we'll call it a crime if somebody else is doing it. So, okay, here, and I better get cracking, or I'm never going to get this done in time. But In or about March 22, following Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 22, the European Union, United Kingdom, and Canada banned broadcasting by RT. Okay, so RT, after the war started, RT, you can't have opposing opinion in the United States. You're not going to have it. You're not going to listen to it. And so people like me who happen to speak Russian, well, I want to hear both sides of the story. I don't want to hear just the loads of sunshine that they're pumping in dark places here in the United States. I want to hear the other point of view. That's how you learn. That's how you figure out where it's coming from. That same month, okay, also February 2022, that same month, oh, I'm sorry, March 2022, RT also ceased its operation in the United States after major television distributors dropped the network. But as RT has boasted, despite its post March 2022 bans on broadcasting and lack of formal distribution in the United States and the UK and the European Union, the government of Russia continues to use RT to direct disinformation. Now, I doubt they call it disinformation, but for purposes of this allegations, they're making allegations. Is the allegatory part of the complaint or the indictment in this case. Direct information and propaganda at what Western audience. For example, on February 25, 2024, RT's editor in chief, and I believe that is Margarita Simonyan, editor in chief declared during a Russian TV appearance that public opinion in the West is changing very rapidly and very cheerfully, due in part to RT. So basically, if you have two different opinions and people start to listen to the other point of view in America, that's a crime. You can't have that. RT's editor-in-chief further explained that despite being banished everywhere in February, referring to the start of Russian invasion of, and they call it an invasion of Ukraine, it's really not. You want to call it an invasion, it is not an invasion. They were invited, depending on how you look at it. Now, you can disagree with me, that's fine. But RT had built an enormous network, an empire of covert projects that is working with the public opinion, bringing truth to Western audiences. Now, you may disagree that it's the truth, but that's exactly what's happening, and it has been happening just because you're getting another point of view. As set forth below, Company One is one of RT's covert projects in the United States. Okay, so now we're into covert projects to affect elections, right? Uh, Kostya, now we're getting back to defendants, is sitting in Russia and reported RT. He identified himself as Deputy Chief of Digital Media Projects for RT, as a member of internal RT email distribution list reserved for leaders at RT, and manages multiple RT covert distribution channels in the U.S., including U.S. Company One. Now, if he didn't register under FARA, he should have. If that's one of the counts, well, maybe they got him on that. But as set forth below, Founder One introduced Kalishnikov to U.S. Company One employees and affiliates as a purported outside editor. And he actually edited content for Company One without disclosing he was working for RT. He also participated in internal U.S. Company One's messaging group, which included only him, Founder One, Founder Two, and an individual purporting to act as a representative, as an investor, this Edward Grigorian, but who was in fact a fake person, so that person didn't exist. And the messaging group, Kalishnikov monitored discussions among U.S. Company One funding, hiring, and contract negotiations, Commentator One and Commentator Two. Lena is a citizen of Russia and employed at RT also. She identified herself as a producer at RT, dealing with overseas affairs and news. As set forth below, she introduced I'm sorry, the first guy, Kostya, introduced Liana to U.S. Company One staff as a member of Kalishnikov's editing team. She collected information from and gave direction to U.S. Company One and utilized multiple fake personas. And then they get into some more facts about Founder One and Founder Two and how they get there. But then they get in about um, from March 2021, February 2022, Founder One created videos, post social media content, wrote articles pursuant to a written contract between Founder One's Canadian company and RT's parent organization, NOTV Novosti. This content consisted of English language social commentary. RT directly published some of this paid work, and basically they outline the the steps that they took and how they published these articles in the United States. And then as they created this, as you get further on, and I'm going to speed up just a little bit to make sure we get through and maybe get some discussion that we get on into as we go through the war. But basically, through the war, uh, which is still going on, they were putting out the point of view from the other side, giving it to these commentator one and commentator two, and having them publish this information. And so, in private correspondence, then they talk about private correspondence, and pursuant to Founder One's written contract, Founder One and Two regularly referred to their sponsor, RT, as the Russians. In or about May 12th, 2021. Now, this is before the war. Founder 2 messaged Founder 1 on Discord. So we're billing the Russians from the corporation, right? And in May, they said, yes, that's also the Russians paid. So we're good to bill them for the second month, I guess. So that is how they get paid. They get paid by the Russian government. Everybody knows that. And there's nothing wrong with that. Well, they try to say there's something wrong with it because they're trying to fry these guys and charge them with felonies for what they're doing. I say, and here's a few more commentary they put in there. Also, I say we say bill the Russians for the last month, and once we're done with the extra op-eds, because they're going to do two, um, we have to get paid by the Russians. So there's a lot of commentary about that. From October 21 to May 22, separate and apart from their contract, ANO TV Novosti, Founder 2 also worked directly with, we're going to skip all that part. Fact is, they worked with a lot of companies over the years to post and to create background, Russian background in English for uh, people to consider in English on this side of the world, but it was guided and directed by the Russians, and everybody does it. I mean, there's other countries that are doing it too. That certainly Al Jazeera is publishing content that's good for the governments that they support and where they come from. So we're going to get into what FARA says. Foreign Agent Registration Act for FARA, it's 22 USC 611, is a registration and disclosure statute requiring a person's acting or agreeing to act in the United States as an agent of a foreign principal to register with the Attorney General if he or she is engaging or agreeing to engage in things of that nature. Purpose of FAR is to prevent covert influence by foreign principals. Okay, and they outline what that is. RT's covert operations through U.S. Company One. Now they're going to outline that. In or about December 22, Founder One began working with an individual operating under the fictitious name of Edward Grigorian and three purported representatives of that person. They launched a channel, Viewpoint Productions, on or about January 10, 2023. Person one and person two first task was to find a personality that could serve to face the channel. And this tells how they sought these talent people out, and they paid them $8,000 a month to discuss their points of view. Beginning in February 2023, Founder One solicited commentators to work on behalf of the company and this Edward Grigorian, and goes through a few examples of how they got them to do these things for a period of several months. And so then it shows a couple of articles. The fake profile of Edward Grigorian is listed, and who he is. Then they tell about how other irregularities and email correspondence began to come about. Digital forensic evidence confirms that Edward Grigorian and person one were in truth and in fact the same person. They've got that. Yes, sir.
Are you a secret?
I am not. Hold on. Wireless caller. Oh my God, JR. Maybe it'll work. I wonder if it'll work. Should I try it?
You have to answer it in conference. Remember that.
Answer, and I hit conference on the little. The whole screen disappeared. Bring it back.
I think it'll pop back up.
Oh, it didn't. Pop it back up. Where's the call? There it is. Now it popped up. So I answer it and then I hit one of those microphones.
No. You answer it and then you go to the bigger window for the says
Okay, I'm gonna click it, but you stay on there in case I don't get it. Okay.
well, I can do it for you.
No. I want to answer. I'm gonna answer the call. Here goes. Well, now what? Somebody's playing music. Are you still?
Fall out through the fallout, baby. When they drop
Is that you, Jr.? I didn't do that.
out through the fallout, it's the greatest of
How do I get out of there?
your white camp's getting higher. There is no delay.
Here's what this is telephone.
Close and kiss those radiation
Jr., you gotta help me.
fall out through the fallout, baby.
Jr.,
While I'm in wire. Through the rain of strontium 19.
I apologize for this, folks. We can't fix it.
About
Jr.,
your hero when you're at ground zero and crawl up through the fall.
I don't know what happened there, folks. And Jr. didn't stick around to help me fix it.
You know what I mean.
Now I'm just clicking and I'm gonna mess something up. Jr.,
And I find the way just for my town. I'll love you all your life, oh, no.
now we're silent, Jr. You gotta help me. Jr., please. Hello. Jr., can you fix it? I got nothing. Jr., I don't know who's doing that, but it's not me. Can you hear the output, Jr.? People, I'm really sorry. We were on a roll there, and now we're completely off the roll. We got nothing, and I can't fix it. I wonder if I can cut that person off. Jr., we have to get.
Didn't the White House have unlimited internet speed? Why did it take so long?
Feel free to pop on. Me and Donald's in already. I had a technical difficulty.
Yeah, you slept right after you hit download.
Jr., you're killing my program here. I can't get it. I can't get back on there.
You guys up for a sea shanty?
Jr., can you hear me at all? I've got nothing.
There once was a ship that went to sea. The name of the ship was the Billy of Tea. The winds blew, but we're the turn of all my bully boys blow.
Jr., people, I really apologize, but this is not working the way it ought to be. And I'm not sure how we fix it. I'm going to have to disconnect and call back in because that's not how it goes. I apologize to all of you people, but Jr., you got to fix this.
Thanks for calling Damn Radio. You can listen live at damnradio.com. Your call will be recorded and broadcasted live. Please wait.
We're calling in again, people, and I very much apologize for what's happening on.
Currently, caller number 2, waiting to speak with a representative.
Uh-huh. Well, Jr., I hope you connect me back. I'm going to text him at the same time. But meanwhile, we get to listen to some music. I very much apologize. But we're going to listen to some. Now they're going to cancel my whole show on YouTube because we're listening to it. So I can't listen to this. So we got to get rid of that until I get back online. And I was really right in the middle of that beautiful process on there, and now I can't hear anyone. Are we conferenced? We're gonna have to end the program. I can't. That's unfortunate. I can't. I wish I hadn't answered that call. I was right in the middle of a good roll, and I'm gonna hang up because I don't want them to cancel me because of that. Hopefully, he'll call me back, and I see what we have going on, but so far they haven't called me back. I'm gonna say have him call me back. Man, technical difficulties, and I'm very sorry, folks, because right now it's. I hope that my voice is coming through on there, but I know it's not, and I'm gonna have to wait to have him call me back because when I call in, it's messed it up a little bit. So I don't know where we are. Okay, now he's asking me to call back, so I'll try again. But I don't want to be put on hold and have music come in that uh, isn't. I don't know where that came from, but we're going to do it again, and hopefully this will work this time. I apologize for the delay. I wish to get back to my wonderful topic. And
Please enter your password.
now, why am I entering a password? Let's see here. Where is our channel? This is where we wish to be.
Hello. Thanks for calling
We're
Dan
going to
Radio.
try it again.
Your call will be recorded and broadcasted live. Please wait while the host accepts your call. Feel free to sing along with Trump while you wait.
I do like the waiting on there. That's kind of important, and I don't want to hear what they're saying on there. There, are we back on? Hello? I can hear you now, JR. Hello? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Okay, cool.
Can you hear me?
You can't find a button. You just hit enter.
I never hit. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. I didn't hit anything. I clicked on it and I started hearing. You should watch what I got on YouTube because it was some strange music that I got instantly, very loud, and it was some music. There was no caller. There was just very loud music.
Right. That's because you were on hold. And whatever this is the inside baseball for it, right? So we're using a digital telephone, which is why it sounds so super. First line comes in, you just answer it right. Second call comes in. When you answer it, it goes to that caller, but it doesn't disconnect caller one. Caller one is now sitting home in conference. Now, close. You should let me just hit conference.
Yeah, but all I did was click. All I did. I didn't ever click. Well, we'll do that next time. But it didn't even show up that way as on the screen. So it didn't give me that option. It knocked it out of the view. Now it is. Yes, it's yep. Okay. Well, you don't have to believe me. When I clicked it, I got all this loud music and I got it. So again, technical difficulties with Sam, and now I assume I missed the caller and he hung up long ago. Is that true? Yeah, I'd like to do something a little different because that didn't work at all. But it'd be nice to.
Let me call you from my cell phone in case he's
You're going to call into the station?
Yeah, I want to practice.
Okay. Well, I'm going to do it.
And the other thing was he didn't have the call in, right?
Right. It did not pop up on my screen. Yes, I'm on the studio computer right now and not on the streamer. Yep. And I'm not going to have time to finish. Is that you, Colin? Yes, it is. So now I answer you. Answer. Conference. Are you on now? I can hear you. So I have to hit conference and then merge all, right? Okay. So when my only comment on that is when I do take a call and it puts on music like that, when YouTube sees it, they're going to block my. They're going to block.
Not copyrighted music.
I
Not
just
copyrighted music.
I just heard a song that was copyrighted.
No, it's AI, and also it's only protected. You have to put my hand a second later. They're never going to get the opportunity to pick it up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I was on hold the last time for a few minutes while I was trying to freaking figure it out.
You should only be on hold for a half a second. The time it takes you to answer the incoming call.
So if I answer the guy who just popped up right now, if I answer, or is that you?
You know what? Let's change the topic because
I got you. Well, let's not do it. I really want to finish my topic, and it's. I was right in the middle of it. I don't know if you were listening, but I was in the middle of it and enjoying it, and I was doing it on the same screen, which may have caused part of the problem. I'm not sure, but I have two screens here. Okay. Well, I'm getting back to my topic again, and I'll see you. Thank you, Jr.
make the call.
Yeah, very, very nice to hear. Thank you so much. My very first call, and I missed it. There's another call coming in. Is that him? Answer. Conference. Merge all. Hello, hello. Are we finally getting a person online? Did that just work? Wow. Yes, sir. What's your question?
Tell their story. I haven't ever really got the vibe of Russian propaganda like they sell it as. It's kind of like TV or any other foreign network or Al Jazeera or whatever. I think it's just funny because the U.S. I mean, what radio free Europe, not to mention all the pamphlet drops and all the stuff that they do actually admittedly propaganda.
Right.
But now they're going after the RT. I just think it's kind of crazy. I mean, it's kind of on brand, of course. Good for us, not good for anybody else. But I don't think. Maybe I mean, obviously, I'm not a daily watcher. I don't see everything they talk about. But from what I can remember and what I have seen, I don't ever get to this vibe of trying to undermine it. But
No, and the way I've equated it, and I've done this fairly recently, because when I watch, so 30 years ago, if you watched the news at night, you'd get mostly facts without people telling you what to believe. Maybe it was twisted, maybe it was whatever, but you got all the facts. There might be a little commentary, but your opinion shows were all on Sunday, and those opinion shows you go and you knew you were getting opinion, not news. Now everything is opinion, and there's very little news. So they'll start with, well, Trump's an evil person, and therefore here's the news for today. You know what I mean? Or Vladimir Putin's a dictator and taken over the world, and here's news from that side of the world. And so they preface everything, or they couch everything in terms of politics before they even put it out. And so
Sure.
I don't see that as much, truthfully, on the RT side, and I didn't see it on the Al Jazeera side when I lived in Qatar. And I watched a lot of the Al Jazeera news because there you're getting news. I like the Indian one. There's a couple of them in India that are funded by the Indian government, and there's a lady on there that I forget who it is. There's another girl who left Ukraine that I like to watch a lot of her news shows, and there are people who are doing it independently, and it's a different source of information and not necessarily political bent. And that's how I feel about RT and why it's so funny to me. And it's really not funny because people are looking at having their freedom. Well, they're trying to put these people in jail because they have different opinions that don't merge with whatever's on the United States. Now, Foreign Agent Registration Act, I understand you violate that, you might have some problems, you know what I mean? And I don't necessarily agree with that, but at the same time, it is a law, and you do have to abide by the laws as they're put out, right? And so, but this is trying to charge someone criminally for having an opinion, and I thought words will never hurt us. They're just words. Who can they possibly hurt, right? And
It's
so
pretty wild, man. And, I mean, especially when you look at our own history, like Project Paperclip, Mockingbird, where our government was colluding with, American journalists to sell the American people propaganda. I mean, we are getting more propaganda from our own news networks than we are from these quote foreign agents.
Well, which is why they hate them
You know,
so much, because they're countering our propaganda. And the lady who runs our tea, her name is Margarita Simonyan. And I watched her on Sunday night, and she said, listen, I'm paraphrasing, of course, but she said, listen, they're the ones who taught us how to do this. We followed their example for years. And now that we've gotten better at it or good at it, they hate us because we're butting into their world. So how do they come after us? They destroy us. They sanction us. They take all of our property. They take all of our stations. They stop us from broadcasting. And I like listening to her opinion. I'm not saying I agree with it all. And I'm not saying I agree with Vladimir Solovyov. They're on Channel 1 anyway and not on RT. But, well, Simonyan runs RT. She's the managing editor, I believe is her title. But she's in her late 40s, very, very well spoken. Well, maybe not even late 40s. I don't know. But she's educated in the U.S. They're well educated in the U.S. in journalism schools here. Then they go back and they're very good at their jobs, and their job is to do this. And so I suppose one person's job is another person's crime, and that's why I'm going through this complaint. And I wanted to get to the end of it today. Not sure I'm going to, but I might paraphrase a bunch of it as we get through because we're only about partway through it. I definitely appreciate your call and your commentary, and I am there are people that listen to me as I live stream on this in other countries, and I don't have that huge of an audience, but there are people that listen to me, and it's interesting to me that people are even listening, but they want to know about us and how our government, how our people think. And so I like this. I think it's good to distribute free speech, free thoughts all over the place. And without calling people spies, without charging with crimes and all of those things. So I appreciate your call. You have anything else you'd like to say?
well, the only other thing I'd say is if there was ever any crime, back when the Obama administration repealed the Month Act. Are you familiar with that?
I remember the name, but I don't remember what it addressed.
Basically, it was a law that was supposed to prevent propaganda being used against American citizens. Look it up sometime. They repealed it. I want to say it was around 2012, 2011. They actually legitimately had a vote and repealed this Month Act was created so they can sell propaganda to the American people. And they've been doing, if you look at the media from that time forward, they really have intensified
Well, I remember seeing. Well, I appreciate you saying that. Thank you very much. I remember back when there was a marked change in broadcasting everywhere. Now, I like political shows, I like political opinion, but at some point, and it was within the last 10, 12 years, maybe during Obama, I don't remember, but I remember thinking, it's like, geez, what is the deal with all this changing? Maybe it was around that time, I don't know. But all of a sudden, things changed, and everything was propagandized. Everything. You couldn't turn on the TV without getting opinion instead of fact. Without, you don't. Nobody answers questions. They just spout their line of BS. You know what I mean? And it's information is gone. Propaganda exists, at least in the United States, in my humble opinion. So people are getting their news and commentary from other places. Basically, I'm a political commentator, but I like to read the news, the events, and comment on them on an international level. And I've said it quite a few times that I believe it's very strange that we're having this discussion that America, which is supposed to be the bastion of freedom of speech, and people can get up and say what they intend to say or say things that other people might disagree with, or that other people don't believe to be true. But guess what? You can say it if you want. Why? Because it's your right. You have the right to believe what you want, to speak what you want, allegedly. But those rights are being curtailed every day, and there's no better way to do it than to charge people with a crime. Now, I would note that they're only charging foreigners with it right now, and those foreigners are all located in Russia. But they're doing it to limit their travel to other places, so that if they travel to some U.S. friendly place, they'll pick them up and arrest them and haul them off to the United States and put them in prison. And why? Because that will scare anyone else in other countries from either leaving Russia or from doing something similar. I think it's nonsense, but I very much appreciate your call. Thank you, sir. Yep, you too. Now I don't know how to. I suppose I keep on going there, right, Jr. Do I have to hang anybody else up or go back to anything different if you're still around?
That's the beauty of this digital phone system is when the caller hangs up, it's
and and I just keep on chatting, and I see now that there says there are two wireless callers. Is one of them you and one of them me? So if you hang up,
actually it must
oh no, I won't do any of that stuff. I just won't. I just won't touch it. And sorry for the. Well, I thank you for the education, and I'm glad it occurred on my watch. But now I'm going to get back to my complaint because it does end fairly interesting when we get there. Okay, now as we get further into the complaint, and we're only on page 15, so we're still cracking. On or about June 2nd, 2023, this fake person, Edward Grigorian, circulated an email to founder and commentator scheduling a Zoom meeting for 5 p.m. Paris that day. In prior email, founder one represented to another potential commentator that Edward Grigorian was based in Paris. At approximately 9 a.m. Central Time that day, Edward Grigorian replied to his early email, I'm there, guys. That time, in fact, was 3:58 p.m. in Paris, but it was 4:58 p.m. in Moscow. Oh my God. 2 minutes later, Edward Grigorian performed a Google search for time in Paris, and then he replied again to his email, sorry, wrong hour, didn't sync the calendar. So these are things to show that this person is really not someone else. And I thought that one was funny, so I figured I would add it in there. So after further negotiations that day on that call, here's what happened. Edward Gregorian secured contracts with Commentator 1 and Commentator 2. Commentator 1's contract, which was between Commentator 1's production company and U.S. Company 1 that they created, which was 4 weekly videos to be hosted by Commentator 1 and live streamed in exchange for a fee monthly of $400,000 plus $100,000 signing bonus. If anybody ever wants to pay me to do that, I'm in, by the way, and an additional performance bonus. Commentator 1 production company agreed that any and all content created under this agreement should be the property of the U.S. company. Commentator 2 was to receive production company provided for weekly videos hosted by Commentator 2 live stream in exchange for a fee of 100,000 per video. So you got paid per video. And hold on, I'm trying to get to the next page and having a little trouble getting there. Still, what do you call it? Technically challenged. On or about mid 2023, let's see. We negotiate U.S. company won contract with the Russians. So now there's a contract negotiated with the Russians. On or about mid 2023, Founder One worked to recruit Commentator One and Commentator Two to perform work on behalf of Edward Gregorian. Founder One began negotiating the expanded role of the founders in developing their commentary or their enterprise as set forth below. So they sent a draft of a new contract that we would like to offer. So they gave them more money. And then they go through about how they created this contract between the two, negotiations, how they did it. Nobody knew who they were really doing. But in fact, it was call it in fact, we don't know. These are just allegations right now. They'll have to prove each and every one of these things as they get through. If they ever arrest these people or they ever come back to the United States or some other place. So when they, and maybe they've been arrested, and I don't think so. When I looked at it, of course, these are just indictments that they get to put in. In America, you can indict a ham sandwich if you choose to. That's a famous statement by some famous lawyer. Sadly, don't remember who it is, but indictments are not worth the paper they're written on. If you're a prosecutor and you can't get an indictment, you're not a very good prosecutor because there's nobody on the other side. It's only you talking to 12 people. So you go to 12 people, you tell them your allegations, and you go, and at the end, here's the indictment. So if you can't get an indictment from a jury, you didn't want one. From a grand jury, you didn't want one. That's how bad it is. And if you want a total different discussion on that someday, I'd be happy to put that out because grand juries aren't what you think they are. They aren't all that grand. Let's put it that way. It's a I don't want to call it a scam because it's not, but think about it. It's the only place in America where nobody gets to be defended. Only the prosecutor gets to come and he gets to say, well, I think this guy did this. If you can't get an indictment in those circumstances, you don't deserve to be a prosecutor. Because if you can't convince 12 guys in a room or however many are on whatever grand jury you're in, it depends on where you are. But if you can't convince the people on the grand jury to see your point of view and you're the only point of view, well, guess what? You don't need to be a prosecutor in that regard, and you're a pretty good moron if you can't get if you can't indict a person. That's because there's nobody on the other side. So, at any rate, they talk about recruiting additional commentators and how they're going to additionally commentate all through 2022 and 2023. And they discuss the proposals that they have going on during that time. So the contract provided for a fee of $8,000 for the first stage, a monthly fee of $25,000 per month in the second stage after signing new commentators, and additional performance incentives. The client named on the contract was neither Edward Gregorian nor the other shell entity, one from Hungary and one from Czechoslovakia, but rather an entity based in the United Kingdom that has no website. After forming the contract, Founder 2 discussing it, Founder 1 signed the contract. So that wasn't a problem for him. He signed the contract. Despite describing U.S. Company 1's investor to Commentator 1 and Commentator 2 as an Edward Gregorian, a purported finance professional in Western Europe, he was neither that. So basically, then they talk about the contract was approved through some certain performance. So Founder 1 and Founder 2 await payment from Moscow. So Kostya and Lena had a private Discord server containing channel initially comprised of Founder 1, Founder 2, and a couple other people. So that's how they get their money. None of that is really important when you get to it. So they join this channel, and ostensibly everybody gets paid. There's a little bit of questions about who's paying who when and why you're investigating this stuff. Remember, the point of this is to file a criminal charge against someone. And when you do, you want to put as many bad things as you can about the people, that they're being dishonest, they're pretending to be somebody that they're not. But basically, the goal of this is to limit RT influence in the United States. And if they can charge enough crimes in that respect, maybe they'll get away with it, right? So basically, they created some Discord channels. We go through that and how they put that. Uh, Another person steers U.S. company one to marketing and messaging for RT. So this is important. On or about November 1, 2023, one of the 6 commentators that they have come up with since that time, since between 2021 and 2023, listed on U.S. Company One website, posted a video on YouTube announcing the launch of the U.S. company. In the video, commentator 6, now they have 6 of them, explained that Company One was a project of Founder One and Founder Two who are trying to build new platforms for independent media. Right now, none of that's illegal. You can build new platforms for media too, even if it's disagreed in the United States. But apparently, you can't do it if you claim to be somebody you're not, a fictitious somebody. Starting companies also pretend to be somebody that works for that company, but you really don't. After the public launch of this company, Liana, using her covert personas Helena Shudra and Victoria Piesti, aggressively advanced RT's investment in the U.S. in 2 ways at least. First, they demanded that Founder One press U.S. Company One's hired commentators to share U.S. Company One content with pre-existing audience. Remember, they had 1 million subscribers or several million or something like that. So they pressed them to share these on their own channels, not just on the new channel that they were creating. Is that wrong? Apparently so, or they at least want you to claim that it is. So, and asking questions like, do you think it would be possible for producer one to start posting videos a little bit earlier so that allegedly so they could be seen in different, different countries at different time, and that they would put anyway. They go through. None of that is really important, I suppose. But they talk about trying to get access to the two, to at least the first 2 founders and the other ones that they got afterward, that they wanted to get access to their millions of subscribers. Okay. Okay. Then they let's see. This is important. Between in about January 2024 and June 2024, Ms. Lana posted links to approximately 841 video clips routinely posted by Company One staff. Now, these are U.S. companies, the ones that are founded, possibly artificially. On occasion, U.S. Company One staff privately contacted Founder One and Founder Two to push the content, and were told, no, you can't push it. For example, on or about February 15, 2024, Liana, acting as Helena Shudra, shared with U.S. Company One a video of a well-known U.S. political commentator visiting a grocery store in Russia. She posted the video on her channel. Later, producer one privately messaged and said they want me. She said they want me to post this, referencing the video that she had posted. But it feels like shilling. Now, shilling is saying something that isn't. Replied Founder One, but they think we should put it out here. And producer said, all right, I'll put it out there tomorrow. So basically, they're pressuring people to put videos out that are positive to Russia, okay, and or positive to whatever the commentator thinks would be positive for Russia. Very, very interesting. And they go through several of these organizations. They did something about after the Crocus explosion at the Crocus City Music Hall in Moscow that killed all those people during a music event, terrorist event, 145 people. They wanted to put some of those out there too, and so they did. So, U.S. company receives $10 million from these foreign entities. So, Founder One and Founder Two profited from their unregistered services. Okay, this is the violations of FARA. So they start posting this information, and they got paid to do it. Okay, we'll just grant that even that's true. Now, finally, after all of these things going through, let's assume as true, which we're going to do for reading everything that they've said, that they made 10 million bucks, that they got 10 million bucks, that they didn't register for FARA, that they didn't register for it, which they should have. RT is registered as FARA anyway, so I mean that is certainly true. So you could go after these. According to records of FARA unit, neither U.S. Company One nor Founder One nor Founder Two has ever registered as a foreign agent for the Attorney General. Okay, so Count one. Here are the criminal charges. Okay. From at least December 2022 through at least September 2024, and in the Southern District of New York, Russia, and elsewhere, Kostya and Lena, the defendants, and others known and unknown, knowingly and intentionally did combine, conspire, confederate, and agree together and with each other to commit offense against the United States, to wit, to act and cause U.S. Company 1, Founder 1, and Founder 2 to act as agents of a foreign principals without registering with the Attorney General. It's a violation of FARA, in violation of Title 22 U.S. Code. It was a part and an object of the conspiracy that Kostya and Lena and others known and unknown to willfully act and cause U.S. Founder 1 to act as foreign agents and principals without registering with the Attorney General. Okay. And in furtherance of this conspiracy, so they're trying to get him for conspiracy too, in furtherance of the conspiracy to effect and the illegal object, the illegal object is not the propaganda. Okay, that the illegal object is not that. The illegal object is not registering for FARA. Well, you don't need all of that, all of this preamble to claim that they've violated FARA. You just, as company 1 and company 2, you should register as FARA, and you haven't. You're acting on behalf of a foreign principal. You could have done that without all of that information from before, right? And so that they go into the overt acts of saying that this is what these people have done, and that is why they violated FARA. Count 2 is the conspiracy to commit money laundering. And here they say the grand jury charges that the allegations contained in this indictment are from, including the following: from at least 2022 through September 2024, Southern District of New York, Russia, and elsewhere, Kostya and Lena, the defendants, and others known and unknown, they combined and conspired to commit money laundering. This I'm not so sure I agree with. It was a part and an object to the conspiracy of Konstantin Kalishnikov, Kostya and Lena, the defendants and others known and unknown, to transport, transmit, and transfer money in an attempt to launder money. Now, I don't know that I can agree with that. If the intent is maybe they're trying to get it into the United States in ways that they could avoid sanctions, maybe, but it's felony violations of foreign. They say that the transfers are because it's money laundering, because the event that they were trying to do was an intent to violate the Foreign Agent Registration Act. Okay. Arguably, if Company 1 or Company 2 said we're actually subagents of RT, then they would, maybe they'd have been sanctioned and kicked out too, and nobody would have listened to them because they said, our goal is to further what's going on with RT. But the long and the short of it is, what they're really trying to do is not in any way trying to get people for what they're trying to do is convince people that it is not worth the effort of saying your point of view in the United States, especially in this way. They'll call you an agent of RT and going through it. And the forfeiture. Now, here's the important part. They want to take the money. These people are under sanctions, right? So if they have $10 million in the United States or any money that they have in the United States, here it is. As a result, and this is forfeiture allegations. There, of course, the government, and this is what Ike was speaking about last night, and what I spoke a little bit about on my Russian version of this program several hours ago. Forfeiture is the goal. They want to take the money. If you got a federal prosecutor who's not in it to get the money, you file charges against people mostly in an effort to get their money. So here you are, you're taking their money, and here are the forfeiture allegations, and I'm going to read them, in their entirety. As a result of committing the offenses alleged in count 1 of this indictment, Kostya and Lena, the defendants, shall forfeit to the United States, pursuant to 18 U.S.C. Section 981, and others, any and all property, real and personal, that constitutes or is derived from proceeds traceable to the commission of the said offense. So this is the real goal of charging them with the crime. Okay? They don't care about freedom of speech. They don't even care about violations of Foreign Agent Registration Act. Their goal is to take the money. Okay. And here's how they do it. As a result of committing the offense alleged in count two of this indictment, Kostya and Lena, the defendants, shall forfeit to the U.S., pursuant to the same codes, any and all property, real and personal, involved in said offense, or any property traceable to such property, including but not limited to a sum of money in the United States currency representing the amount of money and property involved in said offense. So 12 million bucks, we've set that limit already, right? If any of the above described forfeitable property, and this is substitute provision. So if we can't find that property, we get to take other property. Basically, is what the substitute assets. If any of the above described forfeitable property as a result of any act or omission of the defendants, A, cannot be located upon the exercise of due diligence. B, has been transferred or sold or deposited with a third person. C, has been placed beyond the jurisdiction of the court, meaning you took it to Russia or somewhere else. D, has been substantially diminished in value. Or E, has been commingled with other property which cannot be subdivided without difficulty, meaning other people own part of it or it's in a different company or something like that. Then it is the intent of the United States, pursuant to Title 21 U.S. Code and Title 28 U.S. Code, to seek forfeiture of any property of the defendants up to the value of the above forfeitable property. And this is signed, now the four-person signed it, but they black his name out for public purchase. But the U.S. attorney is a guy named Damian Williams. So Damian Williams is sitting out there trying to find money. And this is one goal of it. Now, I have zero proof to back up what I'm about to say. This is completely opinion, but I believe this to be true. That when these people, attorneys general, or people that get in the attorneys general, remember, it's just a job like any other job. You want to get ahead, you want to show that you're doing something good. One way to do something good is to seize as much property from criminals, alleged criminals, as you can. And these criminals, does a Russian care? A guy living in Russia and maybe he's done traveling. Maybe he'll only travel to countries friendly to Russia from now on and won't go anywhere. This thing will sit out there for a while. They filed it before any statute of limitations would expire, and they haven't registered, and they want to seize all this property of Company One, Company Two, or anything known to them. They know where the money is coming from because the guy did his research, try to find the money. But the point of this is not criminal. It's not even to stop freedom of speech. But this is what the politicians get to say one thing. They get to say, oh, gee, we're out there protecting the public against Russian disinformation and points of view that are coming from the other side of the world. And two, we get to collect all the money that they get from this that we can get our hands on. And whether it's here, whether it's in Europe, whether it's any friendly countries. So these Russians who made money doing all of this through whatever means that they had, maybe these fake companies that they built or anything like that. But it's not against the law to create a company. You have to at somewhere list who owns the company and what it is. But Company One and Company Two, they never did mention them, which I assume they did for the grand jury, and they will have to if they ever arrest these people. But the goal is to get the money. And so what I would do, were I a defense attorney calling or trying to figure something out for the defendants, would be call the prosecutor, say, listen, how much of my money have you seized? Because remember, once the charges are done, they can go out and try to freeze these assets. They may already be frozen somewhere. They've been trying hard to figure out how to get money that is frozen that you can't really take under the laws that we have at present, because even people that are not citizens have a right to due process before you take their money, for the most part. But if you file criminal charges, one of the things that Ike was talking about last night, which I particularly enjoyed listening to his show last night, was that if you allege that these are assets that might disappear, you might be able to do, and he talked about it last night. The legal term for it is called an in rem action. So an in rem action is something where you're not, your choices are to sue a person, or your choice is to sue an object, a piece of property, the money. And one of the things that happens, and I didn't hear Ike talk about it last night. Maybe he did. I didn't get to listen to the whole show, and it would be very interesting to listen to. But guess what comes off the top of that? Court fees and legal fees. So if you have money impleaded into a court and the court has the money, the lawyer that either defends the money or attacks the money, they get paid out of the money. Now, those laws vary in different places. The federal government definitely allows lawyers who bring suit, or lawyers who defend a suit in federal court, they definitely allow them to get a chunk of the money. So I'm very hopeful that people found this commentary maybe not enlightening, but interesting. I hope it's been interesting for you. I try to twice a week do my shows in Russian and then in English. I simulcast the English version on damradio.com. Thank you so much, JR, for this wonderful platform that you have for us. And I'm hoping I switch properly when I end this live stream that I'm doing on YouTube at the same time. You can hear me, listen to me, see all of my shows in Russian and in English on well, I'm at Samuel Trapp on YouTube, and I have a good number, well, a ton of Russian-speaking ones, and then a good number of English-speaking ones too. And I intend to keep this up for a little while. I like to speak about international topics, or topics that affect people internationally. JR knows me to be fairly well politically motivated as well. I hope that everyone else understands. I have a lot of stories to tell and a lot to say. So I appreciate your time this evening. I'm very much looking forward to the next show. I know I ran over, but JR told me we might have some dead space in between. So I wanted to end my live stream on that note, and then I will figure out how to end the radio program. But thank you for watching. Now the live stream is ended.